The Forest Dweller, an account by Countess Constance Wachtmeister, read by Dave Marsland of Cardiff Theosophical Society. This account comes from reminiscences of P Blavatsky and the Secret Doctrine by Countess Constance Wachtmeister, published in 1896. I have previously not alluded to the presence at Würzburg of a Hindu gentleman who, for a time, was a prominent figure in our little society. It was at Adyar one day that an Indian, begrimed with dirt, clad in tattered garments, and with a miserable expression of countenance, made his way into Madame Blavatsky's presence. He cast himself at her feet, and with tears in his voice and eyes, entreated her to save him. On inquiry, it appeared that in a mood of religious exaltation he had wandered away into the jungle with the intention of renouncing society, becoming a forest dweller, and devoting himself to religious contemplation and yoga practices. Here he had joined a yogi who was willing to accept him as his chela or pupil, and had spent some time in study of the difficult and dangerous system of Hatha Yoga, a system which relies almost exclusively on physiological processes for the development of psychic powers. At last, overcome by terror at his experiences and the formidable training he had to undergo, he made his escape from his guru. By what circumstances he was led to HPB does not appear, but he reached her, and she comforted him and calmed his mind, clothed and fed him, and then, at his request, began to teach him the truly spiritual path of development, the Raja Yoga philosophy. In return, he vowed a lifelong devotion, and when she left India for Europe, he persuaded her to bring him with her. He was a little man of nervous temperament with bright, beady eyes. During the first few days that I spent at Würzburg, he was forever talking to me, translating stories from his Tamil books, and relating all sorts of wonderful adventures that had happened to him when he was in the forest with his Hatha Yoga master. But he did not remain long in Würzburg. Madame Gebhardt sent him a cordial invitation to pay her a visit at Elberfeld, and so one morning, after an effusive scene of leave-taking with HPB, during which he declared she had been more than a mother to him, that the days he had spent with her had been the happiest of his life, he departed, I regret to say, never to return. Too soon, flattery turned his head and his heart, and the poor little man was false to all that should have been most sacred to him. I wish to pass very lightly over instances such as this, which I am sorry to say was not an isolated instance of ingratitude and desertion, but was perhaps the one which affected HPB most painfully. I mention it here to show an example of the mental distress which, added to physical maladies and weakness, rendered progress with her task slow and painful.